We've often wondered, what exactly does it mean to be a CrossFit licensed event? And now we have the answer. You can't let people swim. So CrossFit has recently informed licensed events that, until further notice, they can no longer hold open water or pool swimming events. Now I'm sure we understand why CrossFit have made this decision, and I'm sure we all agree that athlete safety is of the highest priority. However, what message is this sending, and how are competitions reacting to the news? As always, I'd like to know your thoughts on the matter, so feel free to leave them in the comments below. But we should start by saying that obviously so soon after what happened at the CrossFit Games, it's understandable that competitions would be reviewing their programming and making decisions that they feel are in line with their competition and the community. In fact, we saw almost immediately Tier Wadapalooza SoCal, it's quite a mouthful, announced that they would not be holding swimming at their next event, Wadapalooza, an event well known for swimming. So this isn't about whether or not we have swimming at events. They can choose what they want to do the same way athletes can choose whether or not they want to participate. But what is the implication of the email? Well, they're basically saying swimming is dangerous. If we couldn't do it, there's no way you can do it safely. We need to stop swimming until we have reviewed the procedure and come up with something we feel is safe. The irony being, of all the CrossFit licensed events, they have the worst track record when it comes to swimming. And actually, speaking with competition organisers after what happened at the games, they were already reviewing their swimming protocols, making sure they were as safe as possible, or potentially criticising CrossFit because they felt that their swimming protocols were more robust and safe than what we saw at the CrossFit Games. But again, athlete safety should come first, so shouldn't we all just get behind what CrossFit is doing for the sake of the athletes? Well, maybe, but I have a few more questions. For example, currently, what oversight does CrossFit have of licensed events? Well, having observed the events and speaking to some of the people behind them, it would seem the answer is minimal to none. So will that change when it comes to swimming? Let's fast forward to a time that CrossFit has come up with these super protocols for swimming events. How are they making sure that all of these licensed events are now implementing them? Are they sending someone to each of these events to check that they are following the protocol? Because if they're not doing that and they're just going on trust that these events will do what they've been asked, that in itself means it is not the most robust and safe protocol. What it does mean, however, is if disaster does happen and something goes wrong during a swim event and they can identify that the event didn't follow exactly the letter of the law of the procedures that CrossFit had put in place, well, CrossFit can then wipe their hands of the matter. And it would also be good just to remember that they've also talked about pool events that are far safer and easier to monitor than open water. But at the end of the day, as with everything that CrossFit does, it's their name on the door. And if you want that name, you have to play by their rules. Well, now a number of events are saying maybe they don't want the name on the door if it is with these conditions. And on the surface, this might seem like a little bit of an overreaction from these events. Or maybe a little childish. Oh, you can't tell me what I have to do. And I know that people might feel that way because, well, I've read the comments. But actually, if you dig a little bit deeper, you can see the reasoning behind some of these decisions. For example, in the UK, we have a number of CrossFit licensed events, or I should say we had a number of CrossFit licensed events that were run by Grant. Now, Rich Hornsey made an interesting observation about the tone of the email that was sent, because CrossFit didn't reach out to see how these events were doing, what protocols they already had in place, maybe even checking up on them, saying, you know, have you suffered at all from the bad press that we have generated for CrossFit competitions? Or saying, look, we need to suspend these for a time, maybe you've already got events where you've already programmed everything, planned everything, is there any way we can help so that to facilitate you to make this change? But they didn't say any of that, did they? Just stop doing open water swimming. Now, Graft have now decided to drop the CrossFit license from their event. And then we have Fit Games in Venezuela. They put out a beautifully worded post about the situation and how they have sent emails to CrossFit explaining their best practices for swimming and what they've learned over the years that they've been holding their event, and how they do want to work with CrossFit, but if they are unable to resolve this situation by the time of their national championships, well, they too are going to have to drop the license. A similar move has also been made by the North California Classic, who are no longer a CrossFit licensed event and will be having an open water swim. However, they've assured athletes that they have very strict safety procedures in place, and also if athletes are not feeling comfortable to return to the water at this time, they could skip the swim and not be removed completely from the competition. So here we have different events from different parts of the world, and yet the sentiment seems to be the same. And that is, for years, we have run these events safely, and now that you've made a mistake, we are all being punished. So now we're in a situation where we have to wait and see. How long is until further notice? What protocols will be put in place, and how will they ensure that competitions follow through on them for the safety of the athletes? And potentially, will we see more events decide that their independence is more valuable to them than the CrossFit name? But once again, athlete safety should be the priority. I'm sure we all agree. But it feels like maybe some people don't like the accusation that it wasn't already the priority.